All right, guys and gals in the Patreon, we have the privilege of having Isaac from Hidden in the Shadows podcast with us tonight. And we are going to talk about the Chupacabra from the viewpoint of the Mexican culture. And Isaac, do you mind kind of sharing with us first what the Hidden in the Shadows podcast is, if anyone listening to this hasn't heard it before, what you guys
Yeah,
do?
thanks for bringing me on the show.
Yeah.
We're a paranormal podcast that strictly is in the paranormal world. Anything that is scary, spooky, out there, from ghosts, from demons to cryptoids to urban legends to conspiracy theories and stuff like that. Basically, we try to discuss everything that would be hidden in the shadows.
Mm, I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff I'm a little creeped out by, but I'm still digging it. I'm a big fan of the episode you had with when you had Yami on. That was a solid episode. That was good. So it was a
Yeah,
while back. I think it was around Halloween, maybe. You had
yeah,
like a
because that's when
cryptid themed one.
that's when we started doing all our bonus episodes.
Yeah.
For that month. Funny enough, Megan and Yemi, I think, like, talked about cryptoids maybe 20% of that episode. Most of
Yeah,
it
it
was
was
paranormal based. Yeah.
it was interesting though. It's interesting. But
Yeah.
let's get into it. Let's start out by, so what is the chupacabra? If there's someone who hasn't heard of what this cryptid creature is, like how do you explain it?
Well, I mean, if you haven't heard Chupacabra, you must be living underneath
Well,
a rock or something.
that's true.
But
Yeah.
most of the stories and legends that I guess we know are from like Mexico and Texas. We hear it and see it and stuff like that. Funny enough, Chupacabra is younger than me, and I'm in my 30s.
Oh,
The
really?
legend of Chupacabra actually started in the 90s, right?
Wow.
Apparently in
Okay.
Puerto Rico, that's where it started out. I forgot what town or village it actually originated from, but the story goes they found a whole bunch of cattle drained of blood, goats,
Mm,
everything like that. Majority of what it fed on were goats, hence where it's got its name, the goat drinker, the goat sucker, what that chupacabra means.
right.
Um, and then some of the spots popped up more and more in the late 90s in Mexico and Texas and stuff like that. And they actually started catching supposedly what a chupacabra is, which I know you've probably seen pictures of, look like a hairless gray dog
Mm-hmm. Yep.
or something of
Yep.
the essence of what it would be. But the chupacabra in Puerto Rico is stands on two legs and looks more like a demon creature thing with wings.
Interesting.
That's a
Okay.
Puerto Rican legend.
Ah.
But the Mexican legend, it makes it on all fours and more of a dog, more of a beast that runs on four legs.
Okay. So that's very interesting because so what we're actually doing is, so like we focus on two different cryptids a month, and we have two episodes for each cryptid. So what I'm actually doing is I'm having you kind of present like the Mexican culture version, and then
Hmm.
Yami is actually talking about the Puerto Rican culture version. So it'll be very interesting because right off the bat, I mean, it sounds like there's a huge difference. I mean, one you've got on all fours, the other you've got wings and is on two legs. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, so I never learned from what my grandmother or my mother always told me, my father, when it came to Chupacabra legend. I was never told about the Puerto Rican one.
Mm,
I was always told about of course, the Mexican legend one, and the goat sucker and stuff like that, and how you find goats' necks drained of blood, and the creature looked more like a dog, a hellhound, is what they
oh
also will
wow.
call it sometimes. Related to the devil in some kind. Some legends of vampirism would come out and like
Mm,
use it to describe it. I mean, that's what you kind of think of. It's drinking blood, you know.
right.
Um, but supposedly, where they think it originates from is some kind of failed military experiment.
Oh really?
Yeah, so
In Mexico, or Puerto
in Puerto
Rico, or
Rico, apparently it escaped from
wow.
there. It made its way
Okay.
here, but they're two different creatures. Like Yami's probably
Mm,
going more of the Puerto Rican one, but the Mexico one looks
right.
like a dog, and it actually been seen and captured. And some people actually have it taxidermied in their
Really?
house. Yeah,
Oh
uh,
man.
I've never seen one myself, in person anyway, but I've seen the pictures and how it looks. It would make sense of how it's built. It's a long snout, but it has two giant canines in the front where it would
Mm.
just bite down for impact.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So wow. Do they think it's maybe like a undiscovered canine or like what
I
do you,
mean, that's
what do you
the I guess
think?
the I guess that's a scientific way of thinking about it. It's an undiscovered canine, but some of them say it's like a breed of dog with mange because its
Mm,
fur is
okay.
scaly and gray and it's losing fur. That's what most people like blow it off as. Like skeptic people say, "Oh, it's just a dog with mange" and stuff like that. But a lot of scientists have blood tested and studied these animals that are found as supposedly all the chupacabras, and these relate to nothing like dogs. They relate more to coyote breeds or
Really?
wolves.
Oh, that's
Um,
really interesting.
and the hair loss and the thick skin, they don't really classify it as mange. It's almost like it's naturally was made that way. It almost looks like a greyhound if
Mm,
it was like a thicker head.
totally.
Yeah.
In the culture, is it usually presented as something to be feared? Kind of like be careful or the chupacabra will get you. Is there any sort of that thing going
Oh
on
yeah.
or
Oh yeah.
yeah?
Yeah. My entire childhood was you. That was a tactic used to scare me into behaving. Yeah. My
That's
dad
actually
consistently. Yeah. I
yeah.
say, go to sleep. I'll get that chupacabra in here. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. But kind of scary too, actually. Like
Yeah.
I would be freaked out as a little kid for that, man. Like
Yeah.
forget Elf on the Shelf. You got Chupacabra coming after you.
I mean, I was a kid. I
Ooh,
didn't really,
yeah.
I didn't. Well, most of us anyway. My generation, because I'm in my 30s, so we always thought it was just like a ancient legend until they started popping up, and people started capturing them and killing them, and they realized, oh, this thing's actually true.
Mm,
Uh, so yeah, that put more fear. But I was in my 20s by then, so I was all right.
gotcha, gotcha. Is actually a question Yami wanted me to ask you just to see what your take on it was. Does anyone in your family or friends have any stories with the Chupacabra or any stories that hit close to home or anything like that? Anything they used to tell?
Two, I think two. One actually involving myself, which I don't know if it was a chupacabra. All I know is it was a cryptoid or some
Mm,
other creature. But the
okay.
one my father told me is when he was a kid and he lived in Mexico. He didn't actually come to America over until he was 12. So he actually lived in Mexico for a majority of his childhood.
Okay.
But he told me one time, that's a house that I actually went to go visit because I went with him back to Mexico just to check out the house that he grew up in, the village, all that where he's from.
Sure.
Excuse me. And so he showed me, the place and stuff like that. And where his house was on like a hill, and it had a deep slope that went down to like a valley, I guess where a river was, but it was dried up by then. And on the other side was his school. And he told me one evening when he was coming back from that area, it used to be like a land bridge there, but there was nothing there now. He said he was
Okay.
coming back, and in the area of the bed near the water, he saw something that looked like a dog. He thought
Mm,
it was a dog, but it was too big. It didn't have any fur, and it said its eyes glowed red,
whoa.
which in his head he thought might have been a demon. Now he was probably like 8 or 9 when he saw this, but he never
Wow.
forgot the image of it.
Yeah.
And he yelled at like, "Hey, what are you? What is that over there?" Right? And then it turned to him and it ran off. But when it turned and looked
Mm.
at him, its eyes reflected red, and then it ran
Oh
off.
man.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's when he told his dad about it. His dad is like, "Oh, it's a chupacabra. Stay inside, don't go out at night."
Right, right. That's crazy, man.
Yeah. Because I asked my dad about it, I think like a couple of years ago when I told him I was starting this podcast, and one of them would be on the chupacabra. He told me that story, and I was like, "Holy crap!" Um,
Mm,
but the other one was, I think I talked about on the podcast, is that when I was a kid, I was maybe 12 or 13, I believe, and I was living in Texas, and it was evening, and I remember the sun was setting, and we kept hearing this loud screeching noise,
whoa.
like from a distance you would think it would be an animal in pain, or like it was dying or something, but it kept getting closer to the house, like getting closer and closer and louder, to a point where it I was a kid, so in my head it sounded like how a pterodactyl would sound
Sure.
screaming. It's the best way I could describe it. But it kept getting closer and louder to a point where it was the sound of it was vibrating the windows on the house. Um, and my mom was freaking out. My dad, I think he ran outside. I guess I don't know what he was going to do. And we were opening the back porch to see what it was, or at least find out what a direction it was. And I opened the back door, and I looked, and I could see like woods because we had to have woods in our backyard area.
Okay.
And I hear it so loud, and I out of nowhere, my dad walks over and fires his 357 Magnum in the direction of where it is. Doom, 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 doom,
Yeah.
doom. All 6 shots.
Oh
I
man.
don't know if he hit anything, but it went quiet and you hear it running. And how it
Whoa.
ran was so weird. It like its foot was long. Like you hear the heel, and then like less than a second later, you hear the slap of the foot. Like
Ooh, that's weird.
heel,
Yeah, yeah,
slap,
yeah.
as it ran off. And then the next morning, me and my brothers went out to go see anything was there, any blood or anything like that. Because we're
Yeah,
kids and poor, we had nothing else to do.
totally.
So we jumped a fence, go look. We find trees that had bullet holes where my dad must have hit,
Yep.
and no blood, no fur, no nothing.
Wow, no tracks or anything.
Nah,
That's crazy, man.
well, we weren't trackers, but I mean, I didn't see
That's
anything like.
true. That's true. As a little kid, you're not like,
Yeah,
dusting for fingerprints, right?
yeah,
Yeah. Oh man. That's a pretty wild story. I love the fact where it's like the footprint sounded different when it's hitting the ground. That's
yeah.
really cool. I like
I mean,
that.
I've heard deer run, I've heard dogs run, I've heard like that. But living out in
Mhm.
the boonies, I did in Texas. I lived on a ranch, and if you listen to podcasts and to future listeners listening to it, they when I speak
Exactly.
of my ranch, it's a very infamous ranch, and a lot of things paranormal wise have happened there, and I can't
Oh
explain
really?
why.
Oh
From
man.
that small cryptoid experience to possible alien ships to consistent ghost huntings. Um, yeah, everything and anything you think has happened there. But yeah, hearing that thing run was unlike anything I've ever heard before.
Um and you don't have to be super specific, but like what you said it's in Texas, right?
Yeah, outside of San
What
Antonio.
okay. So
Yeah,
I'm from Iowa. I don't that doesn't give me a lot. Sorry. Is southeast or
southern central Texas. Yeah,
okay, sorry.
yeah,
Sorry.
southern central Texas.
Yeah.
San Antonio is relatively in the southern middle area.
Okay, thank
Best
you.
way I can describe it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, personally, do you view the chupacabra then as an actual real being or maybe something spiritual or paranormal going on there? What do you think personally?
From what in Mexico and Texas wise, looks like we've actually captured something that could be described as what it is in Mexico. How it's described by the old legends. My grandmother told me how she described it. It's a dog or wolf thing with eyes, and it was hairless and gray.
Mm,
It's always been described to me as that. Some people say it's bigger. Some people say it's smaller, depending on who you talk to. And it's always drinking blood of goats and farm animals and stuff like that. Um, but what
mm-hmm.
they found, as of like what the last like 10 years, that gray, mangy looking dog thing, I would say the Mexican legend probably is it. I yet to find any kind of thing that would prove the Puerto Rican legend. Although, when I researched chupacabra stuff when I was younger, I
Mm-hmm.
found an image from Puerto Rico of a guy holding a bat, and the size of this bat, and the dude's about my size. He's like 5'10" or something like that. But he was holding the
Okay.
bat with his arm, and the head of the bat looked like a dog.
Yep.
Whether this is a real picture or
Yep.
not, I don't know. But he was holding
Yep.
it, and his head looked like a dog. Have you seen that picture?
I have. It's the weirdest looking thing. It's
Okay.
like, is this real or like it's
Yeah,
kind of creepy looking? Yeah. Yeah. Huge nose, all that.
yeah. Either a giant bat or something. I don't know. When I saw the picture, I was like, "Holy crap! Is that like the Puerto Rican chupacabra?" Which would make sense since their
Right.
chupacabra looks like it
Wings.
has
Yeah.
wings. Yeah,
Totally.
yeah.
Totally. Oh man, that's okay. So I threw that in there just to make sure because I know you have a lot of familiarity with the spiritual paranormal, just to make sure there wasn't anything going on. But it sounds like you pretty much are taking the viewpoint of that it's an actual some kind of creature in
Or yeah,
Mexico.
the future
Yeah.
cryptoid.
Yep.
Or
Yep.
it actually is one of the most legendary cryptoids, but it's one to be discovered as a new species, and they were just figuring out. But how it keeps disappearing and how we can't find it,
Mm,
that's what I would put a little bit of supernatural feel on it. How it disappears so easily, how it's hard to
yeah,
find,
yeah,
but
yeah,
then you got
right.
the we call it the paradox. I forgot what it's called, where like it's the woods are so vast and deep, we'll hardly ever find every single creature that lives in it.
That's true, right?
So
It's like, like the Pacific Northwest. So much, so many woods up there, you can't see the Bigfoot, you know. Um, do you mind do you mind sharing you said there's a lot of weird stuff that's happened around your ranch that you have. Do you mind sharing any stories about things that have happened around that same area? Not necessarily
oh yeah, I
chupacabra
got plenty.
related, of course, but maybe a few stories.
One in particular that always freaks everyone out every time I
All
tell
right,
them the story.
cool.
Um, it was one is this I was 16. And I was hanging out with my friends at his house in town because I lived out town in a small town called Blanco, was where the ranch is.
Okay.
Um, I lived outside of town about 5 miles. Took about 15 minutes from driving out to in. So it was just there was also no street lamps, no lights whatsoever, pitch black darkness at night from driving from my house to in town, just to get that grasp of how it feels. So I was at my friend's place, and it was a Saturday night. I played in the church band in on Sundays. So the whole premise of me going home was to get my gear because he was asking if I wanted to spend the night. I said, yeah, it's fine. I just need to get my gear for the next day. So him, my friend Steven, and my friend Matt all decided to get in his car and drive to my place.
Okay.
And I've told him stories before about different things and stuff other that's happened. Um, so we get to my place, and we park in front of a trailer essentially where I lived in. It had a big porch in front and stuff like that. And we park up, and I get out. Steven gets out. And I was in the back, and my friend Matt was shotgun. This is point to the story. Um, we get out, and I look at Matt. He's still sitting there. I said, "Do you want to come in?" He's like, "Nah, just wait here. Just wait here." It's like I look at him. Are you sure? He's like, "Yeah, yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. Don't worry about it. You guys will be like 5 minutes. All right, all right."
Oh man.
So when I walk up, it's dark outside because the porch light's off. So I guess my mom forgot to turn the porch light on. So I
Okay.
get inside. I talk to my mom. I ask, "Hey, can I stay over at Stevens tonight? I'm going to church next morning. He'll bring me home Sunday afternoon." Yeah, it's fine. Just whatever. Get your stuff, whatever. So I go in my room, which my brother was in, and him and my friend Steven talk guitar for like 4 or 5 minutes, I would say. I'm just
Okay.
guesstimating how long I was actually in the house, was maybe a total of 10 minutes. And so I grab my gear. We go outside. Before I go out, I was like, "Oh, it's dark." So I turn the porch light on. Turn the porch light on. Walk down the stairs. I come to the car, and we see Matt now in the back seat. He was in the shotgun position. Now
What?
he's in the back seat. And like,
Oh
what's going
no.
on? And he looks at us, scared shitless. And he basically
Yep.
he says, get in the car. Get in the car. I was like, what? What's going on? Get in the fucking car. Get in the car now. And I'm like,
Oh
all right, whatever.
no.
So I throw my stuff in the trunk. I get in the shotgun position. Of course, Steven is driving. And as we're pulling away and driving, he tells us this is when we're driving back into town. And he
Yeah.
tells us while we are inside, no more than a minute after, he heard a hoof stomp in the
Whoa.
distance, like how a
Okay.
cow or horse would hit the ground in the
Yep.
distance. And then he heard it right next to the car, which he looked around, didn't see anything. And then again in the distance, and then next to the car.
Whoa.
Then in the distance, then next to the car. And this repeated for about a minute or so. And he was getting freaked out. So he got in the back seat and was like trying to, make sure he can see all angles and stuff like that. And the hoof stomp in the distance started getting closer to the hoof stomp next to the car. It
Whoa.
was like it was two different things. And he started freaking out. He got in the fetal position in the back car, like covering his eyes. He didn't want to see anything. And he said when the hoof stomp in the distance matched the loudness of the hoof stomp next to the car, he heard a dink against like the side of the car, like someone like hit it, and then
Oh
like
man.
one long nail next to the side of the car, like something scratching it.
Nope.
And he was about to start honking the horn and yelling for us when I turned the porch light on.
Oh
And
my
as I was walking out,
goodness.
and
Oh man.
so as he's telling us this, We're driving back into town. Mind you, remember, there's no street lamps whatsoever on these back twisty roads that lead back into town. All the deer, I believe I've killed more deer than most hunters just with my car alone.
Right.
All the deer are standing on the side of the road staring at us as we pass by. And to
Whoa.
anybody who's ever lived anywhere with deer, you know that's an impossibility because they'll haul ass in front of your car with no
Yep.
care in
Yep.
the world.
Totally,
But
man.
they all were stopping on the side of the road and staring at us as we drove by. To which Matt
Whoa.
said, "Why are they staring at us? What? Why are they stopping and staring at us? We're just freaking us out, right?" So we get back to his house, and he
Oh
tells, of
man.
course, we all like. I was saying I never heard like anything like that before, but yeah, it's possible. Um, and we look at the side of Steven's car, and there's one thin, like almost like someone took a nail, one end of the car to the other end, scratch on the side of it.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Oh man, like there's an actual like you can feel the scratch mark. It's
yeah.
there.
Like you can
Oh
hardly see it, but
man.
you get close up to it, and you see like one, like someone took a nail and just put like dink and like scratched it.
That's not cool, dude. That's a creepy story, man.
Yeah, I'll say this: they didn't come back for a while. They didn't come to my
Yeah.
house for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't blame him, man. Whew.
But funny
Y-
enough, when I was in
mm.
Mexico, I did see a actual Mexican folklore legend.
Oh really?
Yeah, El Cadejo,
Hmm.
which is the white wolf, um,
Oh.
or white dog, depending on which you talk to. How it translates to white wolf, but it was one night, and I was 12 when I went with my dad to Mexico, and the house he has is old. It's made of clay. The bathroom is outside in
Okay.
an outhouse.
Okay.
So I was late in the middle of the night, probably one. It was dark. And all family was asleep. My dad was asleep, and I was getting out of bed. So I was sharing a bed with him, and I go to the bathroom, and I was going outside, and I remember I shook my dad awake, and it was like, "Hey, can you come outside?" Like, just go to the bathroom. It's fine, right? Um, so I had to go outside. I used the bathroom, and as I'm coming back to the house, which is about like 10 feet, and I'm sitting about to open the door, and I look to my right, and mind you, there's a full moon that night. I
Mm.
see this giant white sheepdog wolf thing standing on
Whoa.
this little. My grandfather had built like a little stone fence that stood about waist high. That was about 2 feet wide, and it was sitting on it, looking out in the distance. It wasn't facing me. It was looking out in the distance, and I was like, "What the
Man.
hell?" It's giant. It had flowing white like fur, like something majestically from a painting or something.
Man.
And I go, "Hey, hey, bark!" Like I bark at it. Doesn't
Yeah.
turn. Doesn't acknowledge me. Like I'm not even there. And I just see it jump off the um the fence off into the distance.
Wow.
And I was like, "All right." So I ran inside. I told my dad about it next morning. He's like, "Ah, you're probably seeing stuff." But supposedly, yeah. Supposedly, the legend of El Cadejo is that there's a white one and there's a black one. Uh, and the white
Oh.
one is supposedly good that will protect you from the black one, which is supposed to be evil. And they say if the white
Okay.
one, yeah. So if the white one is near, the black one's not very far behind.
So that's good you saw the white one then.
Yeah, because
But
yeah, that means the black one was near, which I didn't see.
but the white one was protecting you.
I hope so.
Hopefully.
I didn't see anything the
Dude,
rest of
that's
the night or hear
cool.
anything. Yeah.
Wow. Man, that is awesome. Dude, I love those stories. Like those are so cool. That is that the kind of stuff that he's sharing on Hidden in the Shadows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We like I have we told people this before, and this is probably the reason why me and Megan started the podcast in the begin with, is
Mhm.
that we have enough experiences between the two of us to write probably a good 4 or 5 novels
Oh wow.
on just experiences alone, and not everything, but mostly everything in a paranormal world I or she has experienced. Like,
Mm.
for example, I saw a gnome.
Oh really?
Yeah, not
Oh
something I wanted to
dude.
see, but I've seen it twice, mind you,
Wow.
here where I live.
Ooh. Oh
And the best
man.
way, the first time I saw one, it looked like I thought it was a bird, but I guess it was just maybe his clothes flapping in the wind as it ran underneath my car.
Whoa.
And I look underneath the car, there's nothing there. It should have ran the opposite side, or at least out nothing left underneath my car from going underneath it. So
Wow.
I don't know where it went or whatsoever. The second time I saw it, I was getting home from the gym. This is like midnight, 1 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm walking up to my house, and outside the front of the house we have shrubs or bushes, and it was standing in the shadows next to one, and it leaned out enough for me to see its little
Oh,
hat and its little
no
body,
way.
and I was like, "What the?" And it jumped, and I was like, "What the?" And it jumped back into the shadows. Yeah, I didn't see color or anything. I just saw like the silhouette of it,
You
and
actually saw like the pointy hat.
yeah,
No way.
yeah. Well,
That's
that's the
mind
first.
explosion.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
first the thought came to my head. Oh, that's a fucking gnome. All right, I was like, I was
Wow,
freaking
man.
out, and I ran over there with my flashlight to see anywhere near. No, but that might explain why we had a weird infestation of mushrooms growing in our back and front yard. Because they say when you
Totally.
have that, you have fairy folk nearby or something.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow. Dude, that's crazy awesome, man.
yeah. I don't know why
Man.
me, or have been
Yeah.
handed to deal with all these
What
weird
made you
craps.
so
Yeah,
lucky
yeah.
to get the gnomes to visit? That's awesome. But
Yeah, yeah. I'm a little freaked out sometimes when I go home late at night. I was waiting for like to hear human.
oh, dude, believe it or not, it's been like a half an hour, man. But like, thanks for coming on and chatting
Yeah,
and being able to share some stories from your past and the culture, and like that's really cool. I dig that. And I hope that everyone that is listening to this will go and check out Hidden in the Shadows, check out some episodes, subscribe. Do you guys have a YouTube, or like what other things you got going on besides the actual podcast we can check out?
we got the YouTube channel where you can listen
Okay,
to the episodes. We haven't actually done video yet, but yeah, if you want to go listen on YouTube, you can. All platforms that you would listen to podcasts, you can find us on, from
nice.
Spotify to Apple to iHeartRadio to different. I guess all the ones you can think of that would probably have podcasts on. You probably find us on.
Okay,
You can check out our Instagram at Hidden in the Shadows podcast, our Twitter at Hidden in the Shaw 6. I didn't pick it. We also have a TikTok,
you
Hidden
do.
in the
It's good. It's
yeah,
good.
yeah,
Yeah.
Hidden in the Podcast 2. Some Boston guy probably came up with that one, Podcast. Uh, but yeah, we're on TikTok as well. Uh, and we're gonna do videos soon. And I think next or this Friday's episode, or whenever this comes out, um, but our next episode is gonna be on portals to hell, the different ones that people have
Whoa.
found.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to tell my buddy. Oh, Mysteries Obscure about that, because he has a story in southern Illinois about these bridges that are supposedly portals to hell, and it's the craziest thing ever, dude. But like that kind of stuff just like totally blows my mind, man. But yeah, I'll totally be checking that out. But man, thanks again for coming on. We'll definitely be checking out all your stuff. At the least, everyone needs to go over to your YouTube channel and subscribe to the channel so you can. I'm trying to grow my YouTube channel, and it's just like you got to get subscribers so then you can like do cool stuff. So
Yeah.
we can do that for you. But thanks again for coming on, Isaac. This has been a really fun time, and
Thank you.
we'll be hopefully chatting with you in the future. Have a good one, man.
You too.